In other words, a 180-pound pilot would weigh over 1,600 pounds in a 9G turn. Flying and fighting under these conditions isn't easy.
We're back live at the Naval Air Station in South Weymouth. The Thunderbirds are about to launch. Their performance will get underway very, very shortly. I believe we've got 45 minutes. Is that correct?
That's about right, yes, Chet. And that is not, incidentally, Thunderbird number 7 you're looking at there.
No.
Goes just a little bit slower than those F-16s.
Yes,
a touch.
just a little above the speed of smell, as we were talking about
earlier, yes.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, it's going to be a perfect day. They're actually, the Thunderbirds can do 3 shows. They can do the normal show, the high show, and sort of a mid-range if we had a ceiling, and then they can also do a low-level show if the clouds didn't cooperate, but we have no such problem today, I'm happy to say.
And that's obviously what we like the best. It's severe clear weather.
Absolutely. Now give us some sense of what the Thunderbirds, the people who are flying this show today, what they went through this morning. They get up and have a good breakfast. They do some calisthenics.
Well, everybody kind of does their own physical therapy program. Some of the guys actually did a little golfing. Golf is popular among the officers on the team, so they got to check out some of the local courses and shoot 9 holes, I think, before we had to brief. But it's usually powered up morning. You know, people come in early. Some of them, like myself, have family here that are, you know, you're trying to get them into get a seat somewhere and walk around. I like to look and talk to some of the other pilots that brought in the static displays here, because while the Thunderbirds are the draw, this air show is not just the Thunderbirds. You got Sean Tucker and, you know, everybody else out here that brought in something for people to see, and that's real important.
And when did the pilots get together here?
Well, we briefed the show about an hour and a half ago, actually. We all get in our briefing room and we go down, look at the weather and discuss. So we look at a satellite photo of this airfield, get familiar with things like the tree line, which is real important to us when you're at 150 feet above the deck. There's a 100-foot tree at the end of the runway, and become very cognizant of some of the things. I know there's a tower when I flew yesterday with the opposing solo. That was a factor out there that we, you know, paid careful attention to try to avoid, and what's called the run-in, you know, for the opener.
Now, are there any women who are in the Thunderbird program?
Actually, there are. Women represent about 10% of the total number of people in the United States Air Force, and the Thunderbirds, as obviously the Air Force's air demonstration team, have about 10%. In fact, my replacement, this is my final trip, is Captain Colleen Wise, who's sitting over here off the side with us, and this is kind of a training trip for her, where I'm passing on everything I've done the last 2 years so she can take it over and be in charge the next 2.
All right, as we speak here, the Thunderbirds are going through their final check at the end of the runway. There are maintenance people there who are looking at the airplanes, making sure that all of the controls wiggle in the direction that they're supposed to wiggle.
Yes, call it counting the wings and kicking the tires.
Then we light the fire.
And then they are pulling out some safety pins, I think, that do.
Yes, there are pins that are in the aircraft, exactly as you said, Chet, that are safety pins to make sure that the gear does not collapse on the ground inadvertently. And normally also they would be on weapons systems on the aircraft, would have ground safety pins involved in them. Those ground maintenance people, making sure that those pins are secure and removed from the aircraft.
Very shortly, we'll be turning it over to the U.S. Air Force Thunderbird narrator, who will take over the balance of the program. He knows best what to expect and to inform us what to look for.
I see a lot of expectant faces down there looking up to the sky, waiting for that famous name, the Thunderbirds, or the famous call, Thunderbirds are aloft now. And those F-16 Fighting Falcons, when you can feel it in your stomach, it's a whole different way to watch an air show.
Well, I guess it is.
Great.
Eric, how do they choose who will be the Thunderbird pilots?
Well, it's actually a very carefully structured program. First of all, everybody has to be a volunteer. For the pilot officers, they have to have a minimum of 1,000 hours fighter time, which is not necessarily in the F-16. It could be the F-15, like you see out here, the F-4, the A-10, any of the basically fast movers. And they also have a sincere desire to want to do this, because it's we're on the road, as I said, well over 200 days a year away from family, and it's a powered-up day. We started at 3 in the morning, and we left on Thursday, and we finished at 7 o'clock in the night here.
How many applicants might you get, though?
Well, this year we're hiring 4 new pilots for the 95 show season. We had 65 qualified applicants.
Wow.
And these are guys that met the minimum threshold criteria, and they had their performance reports for their whole Air Force career said this is the best guy in the Air Force. Well, it's hard to narrow down 65 down to 10 or so, and then we bring those 10 guys out, and they interview with us and the generals that we work for at our base in Las Vegas. And probably most importantly, the team forms its own opinion, because this is somebody you're going to be spending quite a bit of time with on the road. There's no room for egos.
Yep.
You know, there are a lot of great pilots in the Air Force. We're looking for someone with the maturity to be able to fly the profile as it's supposed to be flown, and yet be able to be powered up, motivated to go visit hospitals and burn centers and talk to kids at schools and gangs and things like that.
Probably the most crucial vote any of those men ever makes, right, is to decide who they will invite to be among them as they fly here. So much trust is involved.
And the family plays into it as well, because you need that support network at home. It's hard to concentrate on flying an effective air show, you know, at 600 knots, 818 inches off your wingman, if you're, you know, your son at home has got a toothache and, you know, you're worried about getting him to the hospital. So we have that support network with the wives and husbands on the team.
Those of you who are watching on Channel 5 and who live in the vicinity of the Weymouth Naval Air Station, you will know very shortly when the Thunderbirds are airborne. You'll be able to hear them long before you see them. There's a great crowd out here right now, and they're all inching their way up toward the barricade to get as close as the flight line, as close to the flight line as possible, so as not to miss anything. And there was a final check which we saw at the end of the runway, making sure that the runway is clear of debris, that the airplanes are all intact and ready to go.
How many mechanics are assigned to each one of these planes?
Well, we have 11 jets altogether in the squadron. 6 of them are demonstration jets, 1 through 6, and we have 2 spare aircraft that we keep parked at the end of the runway, so we never have to cancel a show if there's a maintenance malfunction. But each aircraft has 2 assigned crew chiefs, and they're really the care providers for that airplane. In fact, they'll tell you, it's our jet, we just give it to the pilot for 35 minutes, and hopefully bring it back code 1. That means without any write-ups.
That's right.
But there are actually 130 enlisted members on the team that represent some 35 different career fields in the Air Force. So it's not just mechanics. We have support people who are administrators that secure our hotel reservations, and we have corrosion control specialists who make sure the jets aren't rusting. And you know, everybody, when you talk about a team, I mean, everybody is integral, because if somebody drops the ball, somebody else has got to pick it up. And there's it's really a team of 130 or so Type A personalities. Everybody's hard charging, and I think the commander's hardest job is reining everybody in, quite honestly.
That is one of the most difficult jobs. It's one of the things that people very rarely remember about the armed forces is the fact that within the armed forces, almost every career opportunity available in civilian life also is available with free training.
Certainly.
Yes, yes. As someone was saying, you know, I guess when I had my fortunate to have my ride, this is just the stock footage of the Thunderbirds provided by the Air Force, and give you just a little teaser here of what's to come. But, you know, I met a guy who was doing a job that I'd love to do, and he gets paid for it, too, you know, to fly these things around and go all around the country. But it is hard. You know, we look at it as kind of a glamour job, but as Captain Schneider was just saying, there are long hours, there are lots of time away from home and family, and a lot of pressure, too, a lot of mental, no heavy lifting, but a lot of mental pressure. These guys also have to keep themselves in terrific physical condition to be able to do what they do when they're in the cockpit of this F-16 pulling 8 and 9 Gs during that performance.
Captain, tell us a little bit about the distinctive paint job on the Thunderbird aircraft. I know that has a heritage of its own.
It certainly does. Well, the team was founded 41 years ago at Luke Air Force Base, which is in Phoenix. Now, the American Southwest is obviously an area very rich in Indian lore and legend, and to the Native Americans, the Thunderbird was the all-powerful being that could grant victory in battle, and you know, the forces of good prevailed over evil. And so when we decided to field a team back in the early 50s, again, the start of the Cold War, we were trying to demonstrate the Air Force's new technology, and also to convince the pilots who previously had flown propeller-driven aircraft after World War II that you didn't have to be Superman to fly these newfangled fighters, you know. And so the Thunderbird was adopted as the ideal image. And if you notice on the underside of the aircraft, you see the Fighting Falcon in flight. And it is a kind of a characteristic paint scheme that we have on our aircraft.
All right, at this point, we're told that we're about 5 minutes away from launch, so we'll take another opportunity to break away so we won't have to interrupt the performance. We'll be right back to continue our live coverage. Stay tuned.
Leachmere and Sony are going to make this a summer to remember. When you hit the road with a Sony Handycam, no compact camcorder has a longer recording time and the steady shot stabilization system for rock-solid shots. So stop by Leachmere for a Handycam camcorder, because you won't want to leave behind a bit of fun this Sony summer to remember.
Now during Leachmere's Camcorder Month, save up to $150 off all Sony camcorders. Get a bonus carrying case and tripod. No payments or interest till '95 on a Sony summer to remember.
Introducing the all-new 1994 two-door Camry Coupe. Any guesses where we got the idea? The new Toyota Camry Coupe, developed and built in America.
All right, Thunderbirds are about to roll. Let's listen.
First four take off. Is somebody counting?
And now, here they come, ladies and gentlemen, America's own, your United States Air Force Air Demonstration Team, the Thunderbirds. With wingtips overlapping, the team flies up and over the top in a maneuver called the Clover Loop. From your right, the opposing solo, Thunderbird 6. Upside down in a high-speed inverted pass. From the left, also upside down, here comes Captain McCaffrey in Thunderbird 5. Watch his feet roll 360 degrees right at show center. Now, ladies and gentlemen, have your cameras ready for a picture of formation flying at its finest. From your right, your 1994 Thunderbirds Diamond Pass in review. Another picture for your scrapbook. This one of the Thunderbird symbol painted on the underside of our F-16s. Captain Buck Rogers is now low and to your left with the Ninth Edge Pass. Now from the right, Thunderbird 5. Captain McCaffrey will execute a crisp 8-point roll. Look to your left once again, this time for the diamond formation and the graceful diamond roll. From the right, Thunderbird 6. Captain Buck Rogers will perform a precision 4-point roll. Lead solo inbound from the left. Captain McCaffrey will perform 4 max performance aileron rolls. Check your watch. His feet rolls 4 times in just 6 seconds. Now from the right, it's the arrowhead formation with our 2 wingmen, Major Darrell Robertson and Captain Matt Bird, dropping back to fly off of our slot pilot, Major Jim Ivanko. Again from the right, our 2 solo pilots, Pete and Buck, teamed up for the Calypso Pass. Watch for the mirror image as Thunderbird 5 rolls on his back to fly inverted next to Thunderbird 6. Ladies and gentlemen, where I come from, in the Cajun country of South Louisiana, we say, laissez-les, bon temps roulé. In English, that's let the good times roll. Look now to your left as the diamond approaches and watch as all 4 pilots perform simultaneous aileron rolls right at show center. Now, ladies and gentlemen, look straight ahead and hold on to your hats. Coming directly toward you are our 2 solo pilots with the breathtaking crossover break. Your Thunderbirds are now in trail formation, with each pilot flying off of the aircraft directly in front of him. As they pull up into a clover loop, they'll smoothly transition back into the diamond. Captain Pete McCaffrey. From the right, Captain Buck Rogers. Inbound for show center at a closing speed of nearly 1,200 miles an hour. Before meeting, they'll vent sharply, passing canopy to canopy in the opposing ninth edge pass.